Hello, I'm Malta doing some pictures. These pictures are gouache paintings, and the paintings here show this very favourable pinkiness that I always go on about in Malta, pinky sort of golden bluey pastel tones. And with a gouache, which is a watercolour, thickened watercolour, the artist can make quite intense whites, pinks and yellows, and it doesn't fade as much as an ordinary watercolour. It dries quickly, unlike an oil paint, so they can be done outdoors or done quickly. So it's a type of watercolour, it's a type of finish, if you like. It's a type of medium, which is very commonly used in Malta by a number of artists. And in around 1920, 100 years ago, roughly speaking, there was a really big industry in pictures for English sailors, merchant sailors, naval sailors, holiday makers, cruise ship liners, on cruise ships. There was a expatriate population as well who wanted mementos. There were visitors. This was, of course, pre-airline, and there was a local market too. So Malta was a bit of a hotspot in the Med, and it was on the sort of route to India from England. So a boat would leave England and perhaps stop in Porto on the way to India. Portugal is an ally of Britain. The oldest treaty in the world was between England and Portugal, and still exists. And after Portugal, the boat would go to Gibraltar, and then the boat would go to Malta, and then it would go to the Suez Canal after the canal was dug out in the 1860s. So Malta was used to refill the liners with coal, and there was a big coaling business here as well. Right, I've digressed. I'll go back to the pictures. So we've got these three pictures. There is Esposito. There is Gallia, Joseph Gallia and the family. There is L.M. Gallia. There are a number of lookalikes, Giannis and Girolamo Gianni as well, use the pinks. And there are foreign painters, Italian painters, but a lot of English painters that came and had a go as well. So there's lots of pictures like this, and they all often have the same aspects, the same view. That is a particularly common view, for example, of Valletta from Teeny Fort near Manoel, Marsham Chateau side, not Grand Harbour, it's Marsham Chateau Harbour. This is also the same harbour, it's the same church. This is a view from, I think it's called Tal Croc, which is Gazera, over Manoel Island. So a beautiful view, without, of course, all the modern buildings. And then we have a quite unusual view from in St Paul's Bay, showing the St Paul's Island. I think it's that one there, where there is a statue dedicated to St Paul, who arrived, or shipwrecked, on that island, and he brought Christianity to Malta. So we have these lovely scenes, and we have these very simple gouache paintings from around 1920, I would imagine, and they've been put into English frames. These are inlaid marquetry frames. It's what we would call Tunbridge ware. Most people, I think, in England would call it Tunbridge ware. It's a style of inlaid decoration. So they're nice frames, and they've all got this nice intact sugar paper, which sort of seals up very well, and double mount. So it's lovely, really nice little things. They're beautiful little pictures. And I know the Bonello because the sign Bonello, that was a very nice clear signature which goes under the mount at the side, which is a common problem with these Maltese pictures. And then the other one here also is signed clearly Bonello. The other one, I can't see a signature, but I think it's reasonable to say, because it is from the same set, no, it's not the same size, but it's from the same set, they're framed together, and they have the same tones. I think it would be fair to say that is a Bonello as well. Now, I have struggled to tell apart the different Bonellos in Malta, and I've read the main books about Bonello in the directories of artists. There is some contradictory evidence about who's who, and I'm afraid the signatures differ. Even those two differ. And then, of course, there are the monograms, which differ. And there are, of course, the ones without the monograms and the signatures. So I'm not satisfied. I know which is which. The books seem to say they know, but I don't think they're right. There are a number of Bonellos, and I spoke to one of the members of the Bonello family, one of the members of one of the Bonello families, and he said that the grandfather would paint them in chunks. He would do trays of identical pictures to get them made, and I think that would be fair to say that of even El Galia. The pictures are very repetitive. That doesn't mean they're not as good. I'm not trying to say they're not as valuable. That was the nature of the business. That they were trying to get these things produced. And if you look at even the marine picture painters, what they call pierhead painters, like Esposito, without the D, you'll see the ship seems to be so identical. He's obviously got some tracing paper or something, so we can get the ship banged out quickly. There might have been a photograph with pinholes in, whatever, I don't know. So we can accept there is some duplication. I have heard that some of these artists would let other people sign their name when they were busy, and I have heard that some of these artists would put a signature on other people's works. So in those days it wasn't considered such a bad thing, but as long as you're aware that that's what was going on when you're buying these things, that's fine. I think these were painted by one of the Bonellos, one of the two or three. I think that they are around 100 years old. They are gouache. The scenes are 100% Maltese, and then they're expensive little pictures because the amount of these things is scarce. The Joseph Garley pictures are not scarce. They are really quite good pictures actually, but they're so cheap. They're under €100 each, and there's thousands and thousands of them in England, and there's thousands in Malta as well. They haven't really got going on price, but the day will come when even the Joseph Garleys will be really sought after. These are above that level. These are up, heading towards one of Desposito, Vincent Desposito, and they're heading towards El Galia. They're not as expensive, but I see them climbing well over the next few years because the Maltese people are really trying to get hold of their own stuff, and they're really trying to get hold of these views of what the world was like before. And there are collectors in England actually who collect this Maltese stuff as well, English people. There are collectors in America who like the Maltese stuff. So it is sought after, and I can see the values being fairly safe. I think to have one with a signature is desirable, and I think because if I sell them together, it is very reasonable for me to attribute the unsigned one to the same artist. If I was to sell it in isolation, it would be a very hard job to give it an attribution that someone would be sure about. If I put that next to those, there's no one in the world that's going to say, oh, you got that attribution wrong, because you can tell they are by the same hand. The steeple, the window in the steeple, the tone, obviously same age, the same set of paints. Okay, so we've talked about Bonello, we've talked about these little pictures. Thank you.